This is the morning market in Mae Salong, where restaurateurs and housewives and bachelors come to find what it is they want to eat that day. It's all nicely enclosed in the building. Of course, all around it are other people selling what they brought in. I'm going to probably buy one of these things before I leave, just so I'll have some to take home, although I'm sure I can buy it. But this is just chili pepper. It's great to add to anything. This must be a different kind. See if we can get it by customs. Tomatoes look pretty ratty up here. They're big. The cherry tomatoes are big and pretty gnarly looking. Markets down south, of course, would be much better produce because they can bring it in from the south, or the weather's good enough to grow it very nicely there. I'm not sure what she's making. These may be the little dumplings.
Coffee.
Oh, no coffee, thank you. And these are just little fried dumplings. I'll probably try one. I think I'll get some regular tomatoes. That's the first goal for today, or the first main goal for today, but somewhere, I think up in here, is another Wat, and then there should be a trail that leads up to the top. This is a hand-drawn map, probably by the folks at Little Home Guest House, because it occurred to me, I doubt they even have a map. I mean, the city even has a map of the town that's available to the public. And unfortunately, Lonely Planet doesn't have any map at all. It frequently either has poor maps or good maps where you can get great maps anyway, like Paris. Okay, so this place, once you get up here, does have it in Roman alphabet. Ironically, most of the city has nothing in Roman, even though they would hope to have European and American visitors. Right to the left here is, I think, the first Wat that I was looking for. There's a Buddha. Pretty location. This looks like my travel today, if I can find the right road and trail, will take me over in that direction somewhere. That's the western part of town. Two small reflection pools make this little temple site particularly pretty. Here's the first temple, or I don't think it's a Wihan. And the obligatory Naga. Rather simple ornamentation, at least on the roof. The door area is a little more interesting. And then above it is the Chedi, or Jedi. You can see how confusing, almost worthless, not quite, is such a map. Because there's a straight line showing stairways going off to the northwest, but in fact, I'm guessing that those are the stairways, and they go directly behind this monument or building, and presumably straight to the top. 718, so we'll find out. There's no evident way to get up to these stairs, so I've just kind of scrambled along through there, climbed up onto this, I assume it's a defensive wall against the floods, and will somehow make my way down here and work my way up through a stairway that's obviously almost, if ever, used. Yeah, these are big, high steps, Inca steps, at least for this first part. Who knows what's up behind those wall of brick. Well, this is one way to tromp through the jungle without tromping, but climbing. There you can see my route. When you look at the investment that it took for these stairs, probably not as great an investment as the road, so nobody uses this anymore. You can tell it's almost never used because it's filled in with trash, good sized rocks that have fallen in here. I'm hoping I'm about halfway up. But like I say, it's kind of fun to be in the middle of the jungle and not have to be tromping through that steep, rugged underbrush there. But notice how the bamboo is in clumps like this. Well, this is interesting. It's a substantial cement trench, large on both sides, you can see. Looks like it ends down there about 30-40 feet. Have no clue what it's for. Maybe it's more like 100 feet, unless it's to channel water off this part of the hill onto the stairs and ultimately down to the drainage around that building we were at. And I'm looking up ahead here, and it looks like I'm going to have to climb up onto the wall because the stairs have been replaced by a wall of cement. And I can see no easy way around here other than to go along one of the other sides. You can't even climb up the sidewall. Okay, I just bushwhacked around through there and I'm back on the stairs again. My way through this stuff here and hope that it's more or less clear sailing. There's no way through this stuff, just to battle your way through with the attendant cuts and scratches and pokes. Looks more green up there. Maybe I'm getting towards the top. And guess what I see when I reach the top? A stairway. Beautiful stairway. Well, they didn't have as much fun as I did. Another reflection on that stairway I climbed. I don't think it was designed as a stairway. I think it was designed as a water runoff for this area up in here. And it was built as a stairway to slow the water down. So after a hard-won fight that was probably unnecessary as usual, I'm here. I think these are just painted white, but they almost look ceramic. Oh, let's see if there's something to be seen up these stairs. This large cooling box. I wonder whether it's just to keep the room cool or it's something to do with this internal Chedi. And maybe buried in here are some reclary items that they don't want destroyed. Notice how people have placed the coins on their edge, giving it, I'm sure, a special significance. From down there somewhere, someone or some music is playing from something. Notice the triple naga there. Notice on this the main level for the building is this little trench, if you will, or ditch that goes around. That's, when it's filled with water, symbolizes the universe, as we saw at, I think, Ayutthaya in those very old complexes. I'm guessing that the lack of tourism sophistication here, of even having signs that tell you where anything is, at least in Roman, is because, first of all, they're unsophisticated with regard to tourism. They just want to sell tea, rooms, and the restaurants want to make money from the people who come up to do both. And they expect that the Europeans will simply go to their hotels, go to one or two restaurants, probably the one in the hotel, maybe walk up to the Chedi and then leave after a day or two. After that climb up the stairs, I now have a better appreciation for what it takes to climb up these hills. It's a little village on the other side from the town. The town's behind me. I'm about at the top of the hill where that Chedi was. These hill tribes are, I don't think, anything terribly unique. What they are is groups of people who, usually for political reasons, perhaps economic reasons, shifted from one country like Myanmar across the border into Thailand and set up shop on their own. And they've been kind of suffered over the last 20 plus years, probably because they provide incredibly cheap labor for the tea growing industry in this area. The difference between this one and the one I was in yesterday, that the tourists almost never see, is that these people don't have a little bazaar going. They're not having tourists taken there for the sole purpose of selling trash. I will say that the little village we went to and saw the actual weaving of a piece of cloth is authentic. As I start down the hill, which is a long, I think 2 or so kilometers to the market and a restaurant on that west side of town we saw earlier, I see this little structure here and I want to go see what it is, so we'll wander down there. I'm guessing it's somebody's little thatched hut and some kind of a lookout tower, but for what purpose I'm not sure. Fire control would seem to be the obvious, but that seems to be a stretch in this part of the world. Wonder what this country was like 500,000 years ago. Whether tigers and bears and other large animals like that may have roamed, whether there were deer here. But now, as one guide cryptically put it, anything that can be eaten has. Okay, so I've gone from the circle to the right there where it says Little Home Guest House, which is actually where the star is below those words. I've gone up to the left where it says stairway, and what was not the stairway. And I'm now thinking I'm on the road that you see curving first to the right and then to the left and then back to the right, down to where I put an X and it says Q-top, I think. And that's where there's another market. This road was quite an engineering and expensive feat, I would imagine, primarily just to visit the Chedi, and it also has a helicopter pad up there, so I assume it was hoped that the king and queen might visit once. This is the village I was looking at a few minutes earlier from the top, and I noticed that even up on this higher hill, it's another cluster of homes. And since the sun's directly behind me, I'm assuming that it's I'm looking pretty much north or slightly northeast. I wonder where China is from here. The people that do own cars very much prize them, and you'll often see any car that's exposed will have some kind of covering on it, or the portion that's exposed to the sun. No doubt this is the name of this little town in Chinese. And I ramshackle, and as these houses look, I see trucks parked in garages. And here, after a pretty good hike from the junction of the road down from the Chedi, is the Chinese Martyrs Memorial Museum. It looks like they're preparing this area here for little tourist sales kiosks, if you will. And again, notice the use of bamboo, and notice how it's used. So I guess I'm at the museum as well as the Chedi complex, and it may be a temple. There's a Chedi and another building up there, and then here to my right is another even much larger, several buildings which may constitute the Wihan, and that would give you 3 of the key buildings required to have a temple complex. And notice the typical Chinese upturning of the corners. I just took a picture of all 4 of those folks, because when you've got a group and you're trying to take a picture, one has to take the picture with the camera normally. It's always a nice thing to do for people. They appreciate it. This is a large map of the area. Notice Hanoi in Vietnam, North Vietnam. And then if you look here, you'll see down at the bottom, it says Chiang Rai right there. That's where I came from, so probably I'm up here right along the borderline that you see above the word, the sea in Chiang Rai. Somewhere up in there is Mae Salong. It's interesting, anywhere in the world, of course, that you go, you'll see pictures like this. The people who are important in the event or events. This is nice. Here is a complete board in English that explains it all. So apparently this was a war against the neo-communists, considered rebels in the area. And on the 17th and 19th of February, in the year 1979, an attack was launched and 70 rebels defected to the Thai's king and surrendered themselves. So the whole point of this thing, I think, to synthesize it down, was the attempt back in that year of 1979 for the present king to wipe out the rebels that constituted the opium trade. At least that's what I think all this is about. I imagine that this was an extremely important part of Thai history, recognizing 2 things. One, Thai is a country, Thailand, that has never been colonized. And number 2, its king of 83 years, he's 83 years old, is an American as well as Thai. And the ability to get rid of the opium trade would allow his country to stabilize itself politically, because the wars surrounding the opium trade, just like the marijuana and the drug trade in northern Mexico, and the wars between the different drug lords, same thing here, destabilizes the country, as is evident in Mexico's present state. And I don't know if these are pictures of the king and his wife or not, visiting the battle scene. I don't know. And this is probably a memorial to those who did die. Guessing that these represent plaques for individuals or battle groups or something along that line. I visit these kind of sites, particularly here in Thailand, because I hope that Well, I'll never understand precisely what's probably happened. Maybe in some small way I can empathize with the people and the country's history. It's a sense of national pride and what it's taken to achieve the level it perceives itself at. Present king and his wife when they were younger. I think his mother. But as Eurocentric people from America or Europe, we tend to look at Asia, I suspect, as historical and geographical blobs and cultural blobs, for which we have blob stereotypes and know nothing and empathize less. Anyway, you get the drift. China and Thailand worked together to provide humanitarian care for those who were the survivors of this war and were dislocated as a consequence of it. And of course, that's been one of the great achievements of the king and the queen, was to replace the opium trade with technical training for agricultural production, tea and livestock production, road construction. And here are the Jedi. It's kind of unique because the upper portion, we'll take a closer look at it. Start at the top, I guess. We should see a lotus blossom at the very top. Notice the filigree work up there and what look like flowers made out of metal, probably. There, the umbrellas with little bells hanging off them, wind bells. While I'm in this position, I think I'll take a close look at the top of this Wehan. That looks somewhat unique. Our Naga look essentially the same, perhaps a little bit differently decorated, but that could be artistic. This frieze area and the gable seems most unique that I've seen so far. The mirrored effect, but also just the design. And then look at the border here. Whether this is typical of northern Thailand next to China or not, I don't know. Here, a rather reserved, if you will, imagery of the Naga. Don't know what it would be if we were deeper into China. Notice how they're very similar to some of the hard versions we've seen inside, as well as the king's totem that we saw that was very similar, only of a hard version. Here, either silver painted or silver, I suspect it's painted. again what this function is and why the clock. Notice it's not even working. But what role does this play? But these are such peaceful places. These temples, I mean. Notice again that there are 8 offering receptacles, 1 for each day of the week, but 2 for Tuesday. Some kind of a gong. Some interesting small panels. The peacock often depicted. We've seen this old man before, whoever he is. Don't you love the sound of those little bells? This device is designed to ring all these gongs together. Ceremonial drum. Here's some water storage tanks. They're kind of good looking. They may be molded plastic. These little lily pond bowls are pretty. A little spider walked across in front of me. I'm about ready to walk in his web, I suspect. It's all slowly being transformed into an upscaled tourist attraction. The road to the left is just temporary. They're working on the one I walked in on, which is over to the right. And it was somewhere up off of that hill that I walked down. In the last 15 minutes they finished the superstructure of the house. Now they're putting on that first bit of the reed covering, which will protect it from the sun and probably give it a little bit of rain water penetration shelter also. Up there's the O-top little market, which is really a combination of place where locals can buy different kinds of toiletries and some clothing and stuff like that. It's kind of like a mini version of one of the big markets in the larger cities. And also the ton of stuff for the tourists. What always continues to amaze me here in every country I see it in is how you can have one shop next to each other and there'll be one after another, maybe 15, 20 shops, and they all sell absolutely the identical items. Absolutely identical. The prices may be exactly the same. They even totally remade my bed, gave me a new towel, gave me new water. Yikes. Hope I don't get used to this.